Well, let's talk a bit more now on, the transfer window coming up and Arsenal's recruitment.
Yeah.
Okay. So we spoke about it a little bit before, but do you think he needs more help, Arteta, in his recruitment? Yeah.
I think his recruitment up until the transfer window of the summer 2023 was good.
Yeah.
And obviously that we then went on to have a season where we lost on the final day. I think last summer's recruitment for me wasn't at the time, I wasn't sure about it, and it's not proven to be like what we needed. It's not slating the players he signed. It's more about was that more what we needed?
Yeah. No, I agree. And
I looked at the squad last season and thought that's a top team. Like you're
one more player and we're there.
I just thought we needed one more forward.
Yeah.
We didn't sign a single forward except Sterling on deadline day. And even that signing tells me they knew they needed a forward, but they got the cheapest sort of deal that makes sense for them, a season loan. If it doesn't work out, we send him back type of forward. If it does work, like hoping. Like, no, if you've just had a season where you finished 1 point or 2 points off City, go out there and make a statement signing in the position you need.
Yeah.
And almost guarantee that, okay, next season we're definitely going to be better. You couldn't look at the signings and say, okay, we're going to be better this season.
I mean, the Sterling signing, I genuinely don't know the thought process behind it.
Yeah.
Like, it's easy to say now in hindsight, but at the start, I thought...
I know you always said it.
Like, it's just, he's not an Arsenal-style player or an Arsenal-style, like, mentality or character. Yeah. So I don't understand what people thought was going to happen with that.
I mean, for me, it's just he's washed. Because if he was...
And that's not his talent or his speed or his pace. Like, he ain't lost his legs. No. I think it's his mindset's just... His attitude, mindset isn't of trying to progress and get the best out of himself.
Probably more.
He's got a derby now.
Probably that, but yeah.
Like, what was the process? Just to, we've
hope we can get Sterling at 90% of his
backup
best.
Of Saka. Which
like
is
I said,
not
it was just an emergency signing, which tells me that they obviously knew they needed a forward. So why not just bite the bullet and say, cool, we're going to go and get a top choice forward that we really want.
Yeah.
That's going to improve us, because we never gave him a run anyways. Like, it's not like we've given him a chance. I'm not saying he deserves that chance, but we've not even given him the chance. So what's the point?
Yeah, for me, it's like he's had a couple starts.
Yeah,
and it's you get the chance based off how you like you.
Yeah, of course.
If not necessarily your performances and the output, but off your work rate and your attitude in the game, application, which I don't think it warrants another start after that, from what I see. But going on to the lack of recruitment really in the last couple of years. We've got no backup for Saka, where it failed with Sterling. No backup for Odegaard, really. 1 year he's coming in. No proper number 9 or even a backup for that number 9.
Yeah.
And then we've got no backup for the centre-backs.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you're trying to sign these players, which you should be, and you can't get them, for me, you've got to either come out and say, like, we've tried, it just, like, for whatever reason, it didn't go over the line. The only other thing that you wouldn't say that is because the board aren't letting you sign them. And then you can't put the board in trouble.
I think it's probably more of that.
Well, then it's like, what's the board doing?
Yeah.
Then it's like, have they got the best interest of the club? Or is it just business? Which I know business comes first.
But Arsenal's always been a business club. It's only, they've almost sold us a dream in the last couple of seasons where they've gone and signed Rice for 100 million, etc. Like, that's otherwise, we've never, under Wenger, the back end of Wenger, even the start of Wenger we've never been a club that just goes, we're going to go and buy all these players. Yeah. And that's another thing fans forget. That's why I'm so like aware of the fact that it's probably just the board being Arsenal, being tight. We're one of the best business clubs in terms of output versus revenue and stuff like that. That's just Arsenal. Like, we don't go and just splash. So
I mean, we've spent a lot. Though. We
have, but we've also spent a lot on the back of years of not really spending a lot. So then I just wonder if we've just resorted back to. You wonder if that's why maybe Edu left a couple months ago. It's like, we're not going to be... We spent a lot to bring Arsenal back to being a serious club, but we're not going to try and compete with City. We're not going to... It could well be that.
Yeah, there's no serious intent to compete with them. I see what you're saying.
I don't think there is.
Like, because
otherwise it was clear what was needed in the summer. Yeah.
We're hoping.
Yeah, it's like, wishing. Okay, that team's decent. Let's hope Arteta can just bring the absolute most out of them to bridge the gap.
I mean, someone we've been, slightly linked with in the January transfer window is Marcus Rashford. Yeah. There was rumours that we put a £21 million bid in. Do you see that working well? So I've got his stats up for this season so far. He's played 15 games in the Prem.
Right.
4 goals, 1 assist.
Mm-hmm.
Last year in the Prem, played 33 games, 7 goals, 2 assists.
Mm-hmm.
Like, can we actually rely on that, based off his stats, based off watching him in games, to change anything about Arsenal? Like, because then there's 2 things that we've got to change. Arsenal have to change, and he's got to change before that. Like, he can't be the same player he's been the last 2 years and come in and change at Arsenal.
My thoughts on that are that it all depends on, again, we don't know him as a person. We don't know where his head's at. That's sort of down to the club, i.e. Arteta, etc., to figure that out. They do a lot of research about a player before signing them. It's not just the ability. They try and find out the person. If Arteta thinks that Rashford's head's in the game and that he can assimilate with the Arsenal squad and buy into what they're doing and bring the right attitude, I think it'd be worth a go, because there's no doubt about his talent and the ability he can produce when he's on it. The issue was last season, and you have to sort of take it all into account. United have been poor for a long time. They were poor this season, which is why their manager got sacked. They were very poor last season.
They've been poor for years.
The season before that, they were poor, but the season before that was a season he scored 30 goals, and it was sort of, they were so poor, and Rashford was bailing them out.
Yeah.
And it's like, how long do you want it? How long do you want Rashford to be the bailout for them? As soon as he stopped being the bailout, they stopped competing in any type of way. So you could almost give him the benefit of the doubt that there and say, okay, if he comes into an Arsenal squad that's still competing, no matter what people are talking about right now, we're still at the right, we're 3rd in the Champions League group, we're 2nd in the Premier League, that's still a top team. If he comes into that environment with the right mindset, could you get the best out of him? I think if you get the best out of him, that's an unreal player you'd have right there. Yeah, but it's just the if. Can you get the best out of him?
I think if he come into Arsenal, Arsenal would make him look at himself. Because to be honest, people don't. It's hard to change it's been years now. He's been stuck in this little rut.
Yeah.
You have to look at yourself first to make these changes. Arteta's not going to bring him in if he don't think he can have that impact.
Firstly, that
because we've seen it. Players who aren't aren't fully locked in. Ozil, Aubameyang, they get shifted. They get cast aside. Yeah. He's not afraid to do that.
Yeah.
So if he brings him in, I'd be happy.
Yeah.
Because I believe he's doing it for a reason, and I trust in Arteta.
Yeah, agreed.
But it is a sticky one,
that's for Arteta to figure out if that would work.
Yeah.
Because the other thing is, he wouldn't be the same situation he's been at United. Like, up until Amorim, he was basically just the star guy there. Even though he'd take all the stick, he'd play anyways.
Yeah.
And he could almost look around and say, "This team's dead. There's not much I can do."
Yeah.
Whereas if he came to Arsenal, he'd definitely have to reshift his thinking and think, okay, this team's good. I can't blame the team anymore. I've got to get on board with what they're doing, or I won't play. He won't play. It's not, as much as we're talking about we need the enhancements, he's not just going to play because he's Rashford. Like, if he came, and we saw what happened with Sterling. Sterling's a big name.
Yeah.
But Marcelli benched him, Trossard benched him with no problems
One
whatsoever.
area ahead of him.
So as much as I like Rashford, if he came, he'd have to produce, otherwise he wouldn't play.
Yeah.
So
I think it's a very, for Rashford, for Arteta, it's a very important and sticky situation for him now, because fans are starting to get on him a bit more.
Yeah.
If we don't sign anyone and we continue going in this little rut, the fans are going to get onto him. It's just going to build that atmosphere, and he could be it could persuade the club to get rid of him. And then if we do sign someone like a Rashford and he does a Sterling and doesn't really do well, fans are going to get onto him. He's got to get this right now.
Yeah, he does. He
doesn't have the option to get it wrong. And even though I feel like he should have that option, judging by the atmosphere the fans are creating, he don't have that option. He has to get this right.
The fans are creating a bad atmosphere. The only thing I'd say is, it comes back to what you said earlier about be careful what you wish for. I can see Arteta resigning before I can see him getting sacked, just because it's clear to see that this is one of the most talented managers about at the moment. He's young. He's going to have a top future in the game. If he gets to a point where Arsenal fans are now saying he needs to go, or not seeing what he's done, clubs in Europe know what he's about. And Arsenal gave him that contract to keep him at the club, to stop, because there was talks about Barcelona wanting him. He's Spanish, obviously, etc. That would tempt a Spanish manager. Of course it would. Ancelotti's not going to be around Madrid forever. I think Arteta could walk into any of these teams. I'm not saying he'd then have to prove himself at those clubs, obviously, because he hasn't won anything major yet. But clubs would be in demand for him. If Arsenal fans think that you can just
what other manager's done what he's done? Could have done what he's done.
He could just resign, and then we'll then learn the hard way that you got to be careful what you wish for.
Yeah, I generally think there's a handful of managers, 2-3 in the world, that could have come in to joined Arsenal when he joined and done what he's done in 4 years.
Yeah, in such quick succession. Yeah, it's mad. So, I mean, I think most people in football see the quality, and that's why I'm saying be careful what you wish for, because people who have a say in football will just come and get him and see what he can bring, and we won't be able to reap the benefits of his talents.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Listen, we'll leave it there. We'll be back next Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. and hopefully Arsenal with a 1 against Tottenham.